You're very welcome to the Competent Women Ireland's YouTube channel with me, Roisin Ni Chleirigh. On the Woman to Woman show this week, again, have the great honour and privilege and pleasure to interview Ireland's most experienced and leading and respected life coach, especially in the area of leadership, Mary Curran, who is the Centre of Professional and Personal Development. Mary Curran, you're very, very welcome back to the Woman to Woman show.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Roisin. It's a pleasure to be here.
And Mary, if for any of our viewers or listeners, we have a introduction and the background of Mary's career in another video, and we'll put that down in the description box below. But for this one, we're going to dive straight into it. And the topic of this conversation this week is about leadership. And because Mary's background is in leadership, but before I do that, a little plug. Do get out there and buy Mary's book. Life begins when you're ready to listen. This is a brilliant book. And you know what? It is exactly what it says on the tin. Life begins when we are ready to listen, and especially to ourselves and to what we want in life, and especially dealing with leadership. So, Mary, what is leadership?
Okay, it's a great question to start off with. Leadership is different than being than managing a group. A leader holds the vision, and then he gets to people to go with them, or he or she gets to people on the team to go with them to build and get that result, that vision. Managers more manage the how it's done. Leadership is more about the competencies have changed a little bit since COVID, but the competencies of leadership would be vision, being authentic, being able to, trust. Trust is the cornerstone of everything. So the competency of a leader is very, very, very important. And they are for both men and women. They're for both. What's coming in as well since COVID, compassionate leadership has been talked about a lot, because long before COVID, nobody ever brought into the meeting room, how they were feeling. It just didn't happen. You left it outside the door. But now people are talking about being inclusive and being connecting with each other, and how you connect is through asking people how are they. So that's kind of changed a little bit as well. In the other very important thing I learned a long while ago about leaders, they share with their team what their expectations are with the team. But it's very important as well to turn around and say to the team, now these are my expectations. What are your needs? What are your expectations? And how can I serve them? So like that's really making the other people feel connected, and you bring them in then to work together as a team.
I like that word connective and
Yeah.
connectedness,
Yeah.
because you need that connectedness to bring in that trust.
Yes, you do. Very, very true. Because as you would know, Roshan, from NLP, establishing rapport is so important.
Yeah.
And trust does not come until you've established rapport, you know. And as you know, I shouldn't assume anything, Roshan, but the way I do the disc and the four personality styles. And some temperaments take it longer to trust you than others. And you need to be very aware of that as well in leadership.
And I think too, it's that connectiveness. You have to connect with your team
Yeah. Yeah.
and connect and know your team, know their strengths, know their area of expertise, and
Yes.
know that the leader, as you said, they give their expectations. That doesn't mean to say that they have all the skills to run the organization. They have the leadership skills, but
Yes.
they have to trust the team's abilities and competencies and
Yes.
skills.
Well, it's really important that a leader has a mixture on a team. So some people are visionary, some people are kinesthetic, some people are very detailed. You need a mixture of all of that. You can't pick people that are the same as yourself as a leader. You need to pick a variety of people so that when you want the detail work, there's one to do it. When you want the vision and to execute the deadline, you have the visionary people, the idea-driven people. So you really need a mixture on your team at all times.
And something's just coming into my head while you're talking about that. I think too is that the leader I think there must be respect, because, I think the team must respect the leader and the leader must respect the team. You don't all have to get on, but you can respect somebody's skills, abilities, and competencies.
Well, I think that's so vital. And that's the reason, like when I was working with teamwork a while back, I would always get everybody to do the disc, the insight disc, because, some people are like myself. It's easy to get on with somebody that's idea driven, but then there are people that might be very detailed and they need to get on with us as well. So it's about leading, like, the most important thing, I suppose, really is about when you are leading, you're taking into account all personalities, valuing how to get to the end result, although it might be a different way. They might completely. So when I'm running the disc, I do Santa, and Santa's got six, so everybody has to pretend they're taking over Santa and that they delivered the gifts to all the world. And amazingly, I'll have known the colors in the disc program. So out of all the yellows one place, the red's another, the green's another, the blue's another. And it's amazing how at the end of the workshop where and how they got there, but got there very differently. Like the idea-driven people will be PowerPoint, just the main thing. Then you have the detailed people that take all day writing down every single step, A to B to C to D. And that's all part again of leadership. The other one thing about leadership, you can have a leader that is direct. Some of the predominant red people can be very direct as a leader, but the most influencing people and the best leaders in the world will fall into the color yellow because they influence by example. So what I mean by that, as a leader, you say, I'll tip my toe in the water, you follow me now, and they'll follow you. So all these little things matter an awful lot in leadership.
I think too, for me, in my experiences too, is the leader must be able to accept accountability and responsibility if anything goes wrong.
It's vital that they take personal responsibility for anything, and they're human and they will make mistakes, and they need to be able to thank people for giving them the feedback when they do make a mistake, because that's how we all learn and expand. So like, it's very important as a leader that you're not judgmental. It's very, very important that you give people a chance and you praise them. And the one thing as a leader that's really important is when you give them praise, it should be given when the task has just been executed. It's no use telling them 2 weeks later, oh, come here, you did a great job for me 2 weeks ago. The mind has lost it. It has forgotten. You need to praise on the spot.
Right, yeah, that's very valuable, isn't it? I never thought about that before, but that's really crucial because you're on the ball, you're acknowledging and thanking at right there and then.
Yeah.
It's not like an afterthought.
Exactly. Oh yeah, yeah. And genuine praise, of course, is the vital, most important of all. Genuine praise, not false praise, genuine.
I think the hardest thing must be able though to give. I don't say critical feedback. I say constructive advisement. That's my word.
Oh, I like that. Constructive. What was the other word?
Constructive advisement.
Right, okay. It's an alternative name for feedback, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
If it's critical, I'm giving feedback.
Yeah.
If I have, you get the sandwich and then
if
I give some constructive feedback.
Yeah.
It doesn't say, oh, I have some negative feedback, like the NLP changing the wording.
Yes.
So this is constructive feedback.
That is so important. And it really, really is. As regards feedback, it's how you give feedback as a leader. It's the timing of when you give the feedback. You can't strip somebody in front of people that they're working with. You must time it well, plan to give the feedback. And people are tired of the sandwich approach because it's out for years and years and years. But the most important thing in feedback is that you talk about what they did. You don't make it personal with them. So you're not attacking them personally. You're talking about how they succeeded or didn't succeed in a task. Yeah.
And how can I help you? That was I always think, how can I help you achieve this? What can I do to help you?
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Again, that's connecting, and that's letting them know that you care about them as well.
So my next question is, that is what is leadership. What skills and attributes do you think is necessary that makes the ingredients of a good leader?
Well, I think first of all, they need to have self-compassion for themselves and for others, because you can't give what you don't have. So I always say to somebody, when you make a mistake, talk to yourself as if you're talking to your best friend or to your little child, where you would not, not really be be nice to them. So if you're talking about the competencies, being authentic is huge, being compassionate, having a vision, being able to share the vision, moving away completely from being judgmental. That has to go. The one thing to watch out as well for is not to be a perfectionist. Perfectionists don't make good leaders. You must move away from that, and you must go into looking for the best, seeing the best in others and in yourself, looking for the best, and you'll find it. I remember one time, it was actually a priest from missions. He used to come back visiting every year from the missionaries.
Yeah.
And I used to think they were so wise, really wise people that they traveled the world. And I remember one night or one day he said, if you look for the good in people, you're going to find it. And if you look for the bad, you're also going to find it. So you focus on what you look for in people. I was only about 14, and that stuck with me for life. I just thought, that's a really good point, you know? So, and like, yeah, and also with leadership is very important that you're always ahead and you know what's happening and you have a very open mind. The other thing that's very important in leadership is having cognitive and emotional agility. And what that is, cognitive agility is being able to think about 5 or 6 things at one time and be able to be flexible and get it out there. Emotional agility is where you manage and organize your thoughts so that you don't react, you respond to your team. Really, really important as well.
That's really important, isn't it? Because if you react to your team with emotion, that can really get the like a spaghetti junction communication and miscommunication and misperceptions of what you're saying as a leader.
Yes, yes. And I think also as a leader, you're going to come up against conflict. It's natural. The one thing that you're definitely going to get in life is stress and conflict. It comes with our personal lives as well as our professional lives. And it's really important as a leader that you're able to be able to manage that conflict. And how do you deal with conflict? So I used it myself as my own I use this visual. I said to somebody, when somebody's shouting at them, I said, okay, they're looking for something you haven't got done. So you just imagine traffic lights on the shoulder and the red and they're amber and they're green. So when they're shouting, you're looking at red. So you're looking at red and you're evaluating what they're saying. Then you move to amber, and amber is where you reflect on what has just been said. And you ask yourself, is this valid or not valid? And then you move from reflect on, which is the reflect, evaluate. Then you move to the magic pause before you go to green. And that comes, of course, from emotional intelligence. That magic pause is so important because otherwise you go into reacting rather than responding. And the reason the magic pause is there is because the frontal neocortex part of the brain, and then you have the amygdala at the back. And funny enough, the amygdala is a fight. There's 3 things: freeze, fight, and what's the third one?
Flight.
Yeah, thank you. Flight.
I know. I'm so used to having my own brain freeze and brain fogs. So I get them all the time.
So if you stay in that mode, you're going to react. So what you need to do is that pause gives you, it takes 16 seconds for the neocortex part of the brain to catch up with the amygdala. So that pause gives you that break. And then you can think more logically and more rationally. But you need to take the pause and then move to green.
I think I've always thought, leaders, even doing interviews like this, that sometimes if you ask someone a question, that given that pause before they react or they respond is key, because someone's thinking about it, and they go, okay, ask me that question again, because that gives time for the brain not to react but to respond. And I think I like that. I'm going to use that traffic light. I'm going to use that now. I like that one. That's really good. So red is for
first of all, red is for evaluating what's happening here. So evaluating, then amber is reflecting on what has been said, and then you take the pause and you move to green, which is go, speak, respond, or whatever.
I like
it
that.
Really works. It works. It really works.
So great. What is, as a leader, we're going to deal with conflict within our teams from internally and externally. Let's talk internally first, and then maybe we could talk then externally. What is the best way, in your opinion, is the best way for leaders to deal with internal conflict within the team?
Well, I thanked Dr. Michael Carl, when I did my supervision, because he introduced me to the after the ARR. They used to use it in the military office. So it's a way of saying, what did I set out to do? This is to do with conflict. What did I set out to do? What happened? What went well? What did not go so well? What is the learning that I'm going to take with me to move forward into the future? And you get people to sit down in groups and they say, well, what do we set out to do? What has happened? Because the conflict is usually because of one person's perception wanting to overrule other people's perception. So when you sit down and say, well, what did we set out to do? And get everybody to be part of it. That to me works very, very well. I often would have it when I'd have the groups for the diploma. They didn't always get on all the time. And I remember one girl who was a real high red and she was shouting at this other person and I had to intervene. And I remember saying, hold on now, yeah, but I would say, now what happened here? What did you set out to do? What is it that's annoying you? Or what is it that is getting to you? I think the worst thing with conflict is to avoid it. It's the worst thing. And some temperaments are passive and they compress their feelings and they avoid conflict. So I use the barometer. Where do you want to be as a leader? You must be in the middle as assertive, because being passive doesn't suit you and being aggressive doesn't suit. Neither of them suit you. But the gas thing is, when I was studying the disc, we were told about, I mean, everybody has different colors in the personality, but the reds can be very direct. I remember the example they gave us was, you could have somebody that's a boss and they're a leader and they're red and they come in and say, what the hell have you got this stuff? For God's sake, and say it in front of everybody. So they wear their emotions on their sleeves. That evening, they'll come in around 5 o'clock and say, oh, Roisin, are you ready to go for that drink now? We're finishing up for the weekend. And you're going, have they forgotten they at the face of me in front of everybody else today?
Yeah.
That's them. They forget very quickly. They make up very quickly. And then you have the opposite temperament. You have the people that are predominantly green or blue, and they find it very hard to trust. And when you hurt them, it takes a long time for them to come back trusting you again. Yeah, it's very interesting.
So how do you get the balance then as a leader?
I think it's very much the role and the responsibility of the leader to work with, whether it's HR, whoever recruits people, to make sure they get the mix. And you can do that by getting them to do the test, and that will show you. And then you can decide, oh, well, I want 2 people that are predominantly yellow or red. You can decide, but a mixture of all colors is the best way to do it.
And I would imagine personal awareness as well is key in dealing with internal conflict, or even external, but internal conflict. Even as a leader, having that personal awareness of our own behavior, our own tone of voice, our own spoken words, and our own emotions, and having that all aligned to the values of the company's mission and purpose.
Well, I think recently I read an article by Daniel Coleman, that's done many
Yeah.
books on emotional intelligence. Now, I studied in the Baron method, but it's very, very good as well. Very more or less saying the same. And the number one top is self-awareness, Roisin. Number one. And the best leaders in the world are acutely aware and self-awareness. The best leaders in the world. So I think, and having qualified in emotional intelligence, I'm very passionate about it. And as a leader, you must have emotional intelligence, must have it as a competency as a leader. Absolutely. Because as you said, you need to understand how other people can see things differently, but you must also be always asking yourself, when you go to a meeting, you sit at the table, a very high person in emotional intelligence. Let's say somebody comes in and all of a sudden you're moving the bum in a seat and you're not feeling very comfortable. A person that's very good in emotional intelligence will start asking themselves questions like, what's the reason I'm feeling like this now? What is about that person? Why are they projecting onto me that I'm not happy with myself? And that's the power of being very self-aware. Very, very self-aware. And it really is brilliant. It is brilliant.
It really is.
Yeah, I think it's the number one competency of self-awareness.
Yeah, because you cannot have a relationship with your team if you can't lead yourself.
Exactly.
And that is all part of self-awareness, is leading yourself, knowing yourself.
Yes.
And understanding yourself. Again, that's where that compassion comes in. If you haven't got that self-awareness
yes,
of your behavior and your words and your spoken words and the language and vocabulary that you're using to communicate and connect with your team, then, you know, there's going to be conflict.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, for the leader to know what people are like and be very self-aware that you're not going to please all of the people all of the time, but it's more about being prepared to negotiate and talk through what the, let's say, the challenge is, being able to deal with it together as a group, you know, as people come together, you know, as a team.
And it also, I would like to know your opinion of, it's also, just gone now, just left me. I'll have a drink, I'll cut that bit out. What was it? Yes. And also imagine too, as a leader, is knowing your team, you know, knowing that your team, if it's understanding that if they're not, if how they might react to certain situations and how best to actually react to them and communicate to them. So knowing the different communication styles to the different people and to their needs as well.
Vital. The how of communication is vital, because different people communicate differently. All our perceptions are our reality. So we might see it a completely different way than somebody else. I always remember saying, you know, if there was, God forbid, an accident outside and the guards came to get, let's say, what did you see? What happened? So I'd be very visual. So I'd be saying, well, I saw a red car and I saw a black car and I saw that everything would be what I saw. Whereas a detailed person would say, well, it was 6:05 and yeah, a Thursday, and I was taking a few steps out the door and then I decided whatever, and then this car came. Like and that report is wrong. It's just the way we see it. We see it differently. Yeah, it's very, very interesting, and being able to value the differences in what people do, really understand and value that they are different, and they're going to, as they say, cut the onion in a very different way than you are.
And valuing the contribution that the team makes to the organization. Or
well, I think it's very important every so often to, you know, reward your team for being, you know, getting the results that you set out to get, and not to forget to do that. It's very important to reward your team and say, well done, we all did it together and it was brilliant. You know, we all worked together and worked very well. Well, let's say if they achieve something, you know. And then sometimes when merges take place, you know, how does the leader, when he's not told himself what the changes are going to be, so what does he do in the meantime as a leader? So he has to kind of, that's where trust comes in, where people have to say, I'm not sure right now. I'm being able to say, I don't have the answers right now. And now that and integrity. You see, integrity is very different to honest. People can be very honest and they still might not have integrity.
Yes.
As a leader, it's up there with self-awareness, integrity, because people watch you. And if you don't walk your talk as a leader, you're gone.
Yeah.
Because if you say one thing and do another, you're gone. You know, so it's so important to have high integrity as well. Very, very important.
And when I think of integrity, I think of dignity, because it's always behaving as a leader with integrity and dignity, and honor that personal honoring yourself and honoring your team, honoring what you do and what your purpose is as an organization, and your why.
The why. And the why on a team is the driver, you know, as you know, the mini why is the motivator, you know, and the reason that we're doing this. And that needs to be very, very clear. It needs to be very, very clear to the team. And there was something else you were saying that was really important as well as a leader. Well, apart from the competencies we're talking about, the other competency in leadership is not just being able to, as a leader, being able to give and hand over responsibility to other people, not be a perfectionist and say the only one can do this. They need to be very good at delegating, and they need to be very well. I know the manager do that more than the leader, but still they need to be very what again the word would be open and flexible and adaptable. Like they need to be all those things. They need to be all of those things as a leader.
And I think it's as well. I think when the leader behaves with integrity, dignity, and respect, that flows down through the from top to bottom, all the way down the channel of the company.
Well, that is the most true statement I've ever heard. I'm going to tell you, I used to say the fish rots from the head down.
I like that. Say that again. The fish.
Fish rots from the head down, from the
I
head.
like that.
And I remember when I was very young, when I opened the restaurant at 27, my God, I was so naive because I had wonderful people in the ESB. I trusted everybody. And unfortunately, some of the caliber of people I took on were robbing from each other. They were even robbing from me. And at the time, my husband said, "Oh my God, is this the way it's going to be?" And I kept saying, "No, no, I'm going to see the best in others. I'm very young and I'm going to learn about how I get the right people." And anyway, I went on and I did employment law. Anyway, I did all of that. And I ended up with, before I sold it, the most fabulous family or team that would do anything for me. Anything. And I remember one time we took on this chef and she was very temperamental, you know, a huge. And one day, I'll never forget it, I came into the kitchen. I was in a hurry for something. And she was there with a knife, shaking the knife at this kitchen porter and said, "Eh." And I just went over and I just went, "Hold on a minute." I said, "I might need your beautiful dishes that you make." But I said, if I've no clean dishes to put them on, it's useless. So I need this lovely kitchen porter as much as I need you. And I'd ask you to respect him the way I respect you. And I remember thinking it does come from the top down and being transparent. Oh my God, being transparent in what you say. And I always remember one of them saying, "Oh, Mary, you're very fair, but you're very strict with fair." Or there was some they had a saying like that. And I mean, it was really good. I mean, now I must say at the beginning I wasn't perfectionist. I learned to move away and just see the good in people. But you learn all of this as you go along. But I mean, yeah, leadership, though, it does go, as you said, from the top down, from all the
And I
time.
think if you trust yourself, you
Yeah.
trust other people.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. Yeah. And if you don't trust yourself, you will doubt others. You will start doubting. And the other thing I know that's very popular at the moment is, of course, as a leader, the imposter syndrome. You know, when you're being given more challenges to do, and you might say, "Oh, can I do that? Will I be good enough?" You know, all of that. So that needs to be always taken care of as well, you know.
Yeah, I remember you talking about imposter syndrome. I have a little story about that. When I first went on the radio, because I only wanted to produce, I developed a format for woman to woman show. It was never, there was no all-female radio show in Ireland at that time, panelists.
Right.
So I came up with a format. And there was another lady, Marion, I said, I was doing my degree, I was doing my thesis. And she said, "Oh, what's your thesis?" And I have it here. It is, which one is it? No, yes. It's a comparative analysis, comparative analysis of male and female politicians' media experience in Ireland.
Wow.
And then what I discovered then was that I was sitting in the hotel bar while they were all enjoying themselves. I was down doing my homework. Okay, I don't know where to begin as a thesis, you know. And so anyway, she said, "I'll do the presenting. You've got the format. I will present." Great. I don't want to be on radio. I don't want to be on anything. I said, "I don't have a radio voice. I have a speech impediment because I never spoke until I was 5 and went to speech therapy right up until I was 30. I had my 2 children. And so then what happened then was she only stayed 2 weeks as the presenter. So I had to go in on the 3rd show and go, "Hello, my name is Roisin Ni Chleirigh. You're very welcome to the Woman to Woman show." Like a little mice. And I had imposter syndrome until one day. And a funny thing was, everyone contacted me, not everyone, but a lot of people contacted me when in my head, I let go of the imposter syndrome. And that was what I said to you last week, it was when I was in that present moment.
Yeah. Yeah.
Knowing exactly what I was talking about, who I was talking to, what I was going to talk about, and understanding I always knew the power of that radio studio and the power of radio to the audience.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I always understood that from having a degree in media and public relations.
Right. Yeah.
However, that was the day I connected to that.
And it was all coming from the present moment consciousness.
Self-awareness.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very, very true.
Yeah. So So then, we talk about that imposter syndrome, and you're going to talk about that later on as well in a lot more detail. But you're doing something at the moment, so we're gonna park that for now because
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
giving a talk on that. Um,
yeah,
so let's talk about external. We talked about internal conflict.
yeah.
How does a leader deal with external conflict?
Now, I'd say, Roisin, I really, mostly, I've only worked with people, and a lot of the people at Coach is all internal in big organizations, leadership. I haven't done a lot really as regards external conflict. The only thing that comes to mind would be, my old days when I worked in public relations, my first job every morning was get the newspapers and put them on all the directors' desks because they must know what's going on. And of course, they would have been totally tuned into any conflict or what might raise its heads or whatever. And that would be the only experience really I would have with the external conflict. So I won't be able to
I'll
go
go
into
into that.
much about the external conflict in leadership because I'm not very aware of it.
So therefore, I would imagine then that just thinking about it, if you get the internal conflict right, get everything internally right, you could deal with anything that comes from outside.
Absolutely, together we achieve more. And as a great team, definitely you can deal with what's coming up. Or
Mm.
somebody is saying something, you can deal with it.
And with that self-awareness
Mm.
as a leader and
Yeah,
understanding your team and knowing that your team has what your team's doing
yes,
and how they're doing it and knowing that everything is aligned within the team.
yes. And it's very important as well, values. And I know we didn't bring that up, but
Yeah.
values as a team. What are the values of a team? That's a really important question because everybody has different values. So the values of an organization, what are they? And it's really important that they're in alignment with their needs and their values are in alignment as well with yourself, that you can stand up and say, I'm very proud of my company, I'm very proud where I work. That's really important. It's getting
Yeah.
more important all
Yes.
the time. And values are really, really important.
Yeah, especially over the last 4 years, people
Yeah,
are wanting to know that who they're working with,
yeah,
that they're valued and respected and appreciated for
yeah,
their skills and for what they contribute and
yeah.
their competencies and how they contribute, and also that the company is aligned to their personal values as well.
Yes, and when I'm working a lot, which I do on the platform where people are leaving companies and they're looking for new companies, we do a big piece on, well, hold on, what are your core values? What are your personal values? And I give them a lovely exercise to do. I get them to write out if they manifest their ideal company or organization, what would it look like? How big will it be? And what are the values that you want to be in alignment with that company? And it really gets them to open their mind and realize I'm not going to just go anywhere for any job. I'm going to really look at what I really want inside and make sure it'll be in alignment with that. Yeah, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so now my next question is, and probably I don't know, but I'm throwing it out there. Do men, so internally, right? So I've got two questions with this. Do men approach leadership differently? And do their team approach male leaders differently than female leaders?
Um, well, I do know I read again research a while back. I'm always reading up articles on emotional intelligence. And they say the two highest, the subscales in emotional intelligence, and then, the five in each category. Anyway, it's a long story. But they say the men are high. No, let's go to women first. Women are highest in making relationship work and empathy. And men are their competencies are the highest in self-care and confidence. Now, that was a study done a while ago. Now, so what I would say is definitely men think differently than women. We have emotional needs that are completely different. Like if you had a row at work, which I've seen happen, when I say work, I've seen a row happen. And at the end of the day, and let's say it happened to a woman, she would say, wait till I tell you what happened. Can we go out and have a cup of tea? I need to tell you what happened. Let's say that same day the man had a row at work and he's meeting his friends. All he'd do is go and meet them and he'd talk either about sex or football, and that's it. He doesn't mention what happened at work. So the emotional needs are different. So when men are passive, they suffer a lot in the workplace. When they're passive, when they're quiet and repress their feelings, then they can suffer a lot. Um, do men and women, people treat men and women differently, there's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
I was only listening recently to the lady, the Rose, Cheryl, whatever you call it, the Rose, Lean In. And she will be very strong about, men are quicker to acknowledge their own self-worth. They're quicker to acknowledge their contributions than women. Women sometimes have the imposter syndrome. Oh, don't blow your own trumpet. Or, oh, if I do this, people will think I'm aggressive. And the gas thing is, they'll think a woman is aggressive, but the man, it's okay for the man to do it.
Yeah.
I remember when I was teaching years ago, communication skills, and I was doing the power of a handshake. And the interesting thing about the power of the handshake is there's 3 ways to shake a hand. So you have the wet fish. So that's the person that grabs your little fingers like this when you meet, and they barely take your hand. That's the wet fish, which is a disaster. And it tells people, oh, they're a little bit shady, something about them, they're a bit shady. And then you have the opposite to that, which is the aggressive, where they're the bone cruncher, and they go like that. And then correct handshake is where you look at the person in the face and you smile, and 3 gentle handshakes. But the gas thing is, in an interview, if a woman has a bone cruncher and handshake, immediately the people will say, oh, she's aggressive. I'm not sure if I take that person on. I remember years ago writing an article on losing the job with the handshake, because it happens. It gives a message immediately to a person, oh, she's very aggressive. And she mightn't be at all. It's just she is a strong, a really strong handshake. So yes, they're different. I know I don't want to compare men and women, but I think as well, women juggle a lot. Women have to juggle their, like most, I'm not saying everybody because I'm not going to generalize, but a lot of women, professional women, want children as well. And how they juggle between the role of a mother, bringing the kids places, and then cooking, and then running a business as well. We take on a lot. Now, and that's, and men nowadays are brilliant. You see the babies, they're really great now. They do everything that we used to do, you know what I mean? And that's good as well. But I do think sometimes women, they're not taken as serious sometimes as men,
Yes, I agree there. And women are going home from work, they're getting the dinner ready, they're getting the laundry ready, they're making the dinner, they're getting the packed lunches ready for school for the children the next day, doing the bedtime story, putting the children to bed. And if children are sick, they're dealing with that as well, and then getting themselves ready for work.
Yeah. They've learned, women are very good at juggling things. They're very good at doing more than one thing at one time. Even though now there's research saying you should give 100% present moment conscious to everything you do, which I agree with. But sometimes we end up doing juggling 3 or 4 things at one time.
You can't, and women are going to work, and women are the main carers of the family. Women are, no matter how much we praise the men, women are still the ones, and it's actually, they're going to work and they're juggling that at work, knowing that there could be a baby homesick or their mother's not well, and things like that.
I think as well, for that reason, women have learned the gift of detaching. Like they're able to go into work. Now, being detached can be positive or negative, but they might have a rough day, as you said. One of the kids might be sick before they get into work, even. You know what I mean? But we're able to kind of go, now I'm parking that now. Let's focus on my job in front of me. They're very good at detaching.
Yes, that's something I learned, how to park something.
Yes.
And do you know what I did? I used to have this ritual going to work. Is I would, in the car, I would used to be at a certain location. When I was driving to a certain location, I would dump everything that was worrying me or what was happening at home in a little black bag in the passenger seat, right?
Yeah.
And then I would tie it up, and I would visualize myself either at the roundabout, going on to the motorway, or at a specific location, visualizing myself opening the door while I'm driving, pushing it out, and then closing the door and go, I'll get you on the way back. And then when I come on the way back, I open the door and bring in the little black bag. Okay, I'm back now. And that's how I parked things.
That's very, very good. That's really, really good. And it's like worry. People, it's such a waste of time, worry. Yeah. And what we say about worry is it's like paying money on a bank account loan that you haven't taken out yet. It's interest being paid on something that has never even been taken out. You're worrying about the what ifs that leads into anxiety, and the worry box is a very good tip as well, where you write down what's worrying you, and you put it into a box. Now, bye now, I'm leaving you there. I'm going to now be free to do what I need to do today. A little bit, but your metaphor and that black bag, that's brilliant. That's really
Yeah,
great. Yeah,
that's what I do.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I like that what you said. Worry is like taking a loan out on taking the bank loan that you haven't already taken. I like that. Say that again.
Yeah, worry is like thinking you're taking out a bank account and paying interest on it when you haven't even taken it out yet. You haven't even taken out the bank loan. You haven't even taken it out, but you're thinking about it and you're worrying about it.
Well, I like that.
I think that was Brian Tracy now, wasn't mine. I think it was Brian Tracy's that said that. You know,
That's really good. I
Brian
have a book.
Tracy, Psychology of Achievement, always
Yeah,
brilliant. I think it
yeah,
was him now that said that. It was him, I think, that said that. But it stuck in my head because I remember thinking,
yeah,
like, I don't, as I am now, I would say I do my best not to worry. I have a
yeah.
brilliant affirmation, which is I only focus on what I can do something about. Now it's my own affirmation, but it really works. When I see my mind wandering to something that is going to cause me anxiety or stress or worry, I pull it back. I say, I'm only focused on what I can do something about right now, you know.
That comes. I think that comes with age, experience, and wisdom.
True. Very true.
You know, whereas
Yeah.
you do that, um, and that comes with self-confidence. Well, I can't do anything about it right now.
I think it's great to be able to do that, Roisin. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah,
I know people that get quite sick from worry.
yeah.
To worry
I
about
used to.
literally everything. Yeah, I don't anymore. And it's funny to say it's passed down from generation to generation, sometimes in the family, you know. And sometimes it is passed on. Like my mother was a worrier, so then I'll be a worrier. You know, it is passed on sometimes from generation, primary impressions from one generation to the other. But yeah,
I think
some
we can break that habit though, can't we? We can break that behavior habit of over worrying and being a compulsive worrier.
oh, I've coached an awful lot of people, Roisin, to stop worrying. Oh, really? Over the years. And I'd
Yeah.
say, what is the point? Okay, you've only 100% of energy in every day. The question is, where does my energy go? Does
Yes.
it go on worrying about things that might never happen and the if onlys into the future as negatives? Or does it go on, I'm going to be my best, give my best, focus on what I can do something about today? You know, it's like I always say about driving the car and you're getting into work and you have a meeting and you're in the car and all of a sudden there's a car crash and there's a big wave back. Now you have two choices. You either get stressed out of it, oh yeah, and your phone is dead. You go to look and let people know you're going to be late and your phone is dead. So you kind of go, right, what do I do? Do I have a heart attack here now and stress myself out, or will I put on something smooth that will calm me down while I'm waiting to move on in the car and get to work in a good state, a good mental state, rather than all up to 90, you know? Like, yeah, people, yeah, they can really worry a lot and it doesn't have anything.
Yeah, I think that and worry is a distraction and it can sabotage.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
It can really sabotage. And I think, that's one good thing about a leader too, I think is accepting that, there might be within the team, there might be people who are compulsive warriors who over worry, overthink things. And I think that's the part of a leader is not to overthink.
oh, very much not ruminate over things. Yeah, leaders, you know, it's something that they shouldn't, you know, give time to because sometimes leaders have to make decisions very quickly on the spot. You know, they're the people with the vision, like, and they sometimes have to come out and say, "This is to be done today." So they really have to be very much in the moment. They really need
Mm.
to know what everybody is doing and how they can get through something sometimes in very quick time.
And another thing I would love, I would say you have a lot to say is not take anything personally if people say no, that they can't do that, or they're unable to do something,
Yeah,
or unable to commit to something at
yeah.
that time. It's
Yeah.
not taking it personally as a leader.
Yeah, being able to say no effectively is what we all need to do. And the way we do that is by looking at our tolerations and boundaries. People are inclined to go to boundaries first. But I always say, how can you set boundaries when you don't know what you tolerate? You need to
Yes,
know what you're tolerating first before you set the boundaries. But I remember everybody finds it hard to say no. Everybody. The only way you will get used to saying no is when you live in alignment with your values. And when
yes,
you have peace and tranquility inside yourself, you're able to say no. You know, you are able to say no. I remember one time I was working for a company, I was delivering 3 workshops, and one was on the north side, then the second one was on the south side, and then the third one was back. Oh, no, sorry, 2 were out on the south side, and I live in the north side. And I remember saying, I'm going to ring them up. So I rang them up and I said, could you manage to change them around so that the last one is on the north side, so I can come back home rather than being all the way out? And I meant, oh yeah, no problem there. And he was like, that wasn't too bad. I was saying no, but like in a nice way, asking, what can be done. But people find it very difficult to say no, and especially people that take things personally as well. Now,
Yeah.
when they take things personally, they're not really valuing themselves, because like feedback can be taken very personally with certain temperaments. There we go back to the communication styles again. Like some of us will take the feedback very well, but some of us, depending on our temperament, might think it's personal when it's not.
Yes.
Yeah, and that happens as well with
Yeah.
people.
And I think that as a leader, you have to park and dis and dissociate from what is personal and what is not personal. Is
Yeah.
professional feedback,
Yes.
but for the betterment of the company.
Yeah.
As leaders, we don't know everything about everything.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why you have the people in positions to give you that advice from the different departments.
Yeah, yeah. And it's, as you said, being able to, but I think that comes as well when you're more emotionally intelligent, when you
Yeah.
built up your emotional intelligence, you do kind of say, well, it wasn't, it wasn't. Now, the only thing, it wasn't me to blame, but just remember the one thing is that the brain likes no more than, or sorry, the brain will serve to correct you or protect you all the time. So let's say I'm getting my valuations from giving a talk, and let's say there's 10, and in the 10, I don't even put good anymore, Roisin. It must be very good, excellent, or standing at this stage of my life, or else what am I doing, right? But let's say 9 of them is, let's say, excellent or whatever, but then there's one that's marking only very good, nothing. I'll stick with that, and my mind will go, I wonder what happened there. What did I say that they didn't like? Now, I'll always look for the feedback, but the mind always does that first. It goes what you don't want before it looks at what you do want.
Right.
If you say, Johnny, don't drop the dishes, he's thinking of dropping the dishes before he thinks of not dropping the dishes. It's just the way our mind works. So we always look at the negative more than, like we kind of give ourselves a hard time with the negative more than the positive.
And so what I'm really picking up there was to be a good, effective leader, the self-awareness comes as well as emotional intelligence.
Yeah. Well, the very top competency in emotional intelligence is the self-awareness. Number one. It's number one in this scale.
Listen. Well, Mary, we're going to be doing a series of this. You're going to be coming on regularly and twice a month for a while. And we're going to be really talking about this and each different thing in segments. So I really thank you, because I've learned so much listening to you today. I really have. And I really just thought, oh, I'm going to try that. Oh, yeah. And it's all those gentle reminders and bringing us all into alignment. And I think I think going forward now, I see it already that women are looking out for women leaders now. We're looking, and I think the whole landscape of leadership is going to change, especially in women's leaderships. And I think that's going to be really important. And women want to know what makes a good, effective leader. Or more and more women now, since the last 4 years, are looking to actually start out on their own, set up their own business.
Yeah, yeah.
And how do I become a leader of that small little group or that business? What are the leadership skills I need? We're working blind. So your advice is going to be so invaluable going forward, and more than ever in this time.
Well, thank you, Roisin. I mean, I work with them all the time. Like, now I'm not going to say, yeah, I would have to say majority of the people I coach are women, even though I coach a lot of men as well. But, and a lot of the women would be in the leadership roles. They'd be moving and progressing on to the next level. And some of them, now I do coach a lot of women in business as well. I mean, because I'm a woman in business as well. But to me, they're brilliant leaders, and they amaze me how they're able to show, juggle so many things. Even I know I juggle a lot when I started out my business as well, with my little son being very small. You know what I mean? So I mean, I think it's time for women to accept the praise that people want to give them, and not go, oh, not at all, oh, not at all. Like being able to say thank you, really thank you. And what was the word? I said, be grateful, and women for women need to admire each other, fight for each other, look after each other in the business world. Because there's always this thing about women together. I mean, I have worked with groups of women and are fantastic. And I think it's a myth where people say, oh, you know, a bunch of women ought to be stabbing each other in the back. That day is gone. That day is gone. People want to help others get better on and go up the levels, whatever they want. Yeah.
And Mary, you know, you talk about women not being able to accept compliments or praise. I was contacted by a journalist before Christmas about writing about women accepting compliments, because women find it harder. Even like, you know, before we came on, we were admiring what one another was wearing. Oh, this old thing, or oh, did I do right? But women accepting compliments, accepting praise, accepting acknowledgement for a job well done is equally as key as accepting constructive advisement, as I said earlier on.
Yeah, absolutely. And men are well able to take compliments, far more than women, you know. And even now, like, it's learning how to say thank you and with a smile, you know what I mean? Because I remember as well, smiling is such a gift to people because it's an act of kindness, you know. And I remember when I started coaching, I used to be in Clifton House. I'd walk into the girls at reception every morning and I'd come in, good morning, and big smile. And one day I heard one of them saying, is there something wrong with her? She's always smiling when she comes in. And that's what she said. And I was going, God, like when you're embracing the world and being friendly and nice, somebody's actually saying there's something wrong with you, you know, because we weren't used to it. We weren't used to it, you know.
And smiling just makes ourselves feel good.
Yeah.
And you don't know who, as a leader, if you're walking into a room and you're smiling,
yeah,
that has like a domino effect.
Yeah.
And the psychological effect of smiling, genuinely smiling, or smiling and nodding at someone, even if you don't know the name, good morning with a smile.
Yeah.
It's showing that you value them.
Yeah. Oh, it is. And it's energy. It's been energy given out.
Energy.
Yeah.
And it's a frequency and vibration. And it's like throwing the pebble in the water, and you just watch all that. It just the pebble in the water, the frequency, the vibration of a smile, and the eyes, and a genuine smile.
Yes.
It has a frequency and an energy within the organization.
Very true. Very, very true. And it sets the tone at the meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah. As you walk in. Yeah.
So, Mary, you know, I think leadership is something that is going to be in the airwaves. And a lot of more people are going to start even talking about more, because it's going to be a very important topic going forward. Leadership styles, what makes a good leader compared to somebody else, and how do people lead? And I think something you said to me is you lead by example.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's really key.
Yeah.
And emotional intelligence.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Because you do lead by example, and people will, once you have integrity, they will follow you. They will follow you.
Integrity, dignity, and honor, and respect, and trust, and connectiveness.
Yes. Yeah. 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 I know trust is a huge one in leadership. Massive. There's a great book by not Stephen Covey, the son, Sean Covey, The Speed of Trust. It's a great book for organizations. Just a great book. Yeah. It's really good. Yeah.
We'll have to talk about that further next time. But for today, Mary Curran, one of Ireland's most leading, experienced life coaches, and who brought life coaching to Ireland. He was one of the first life coaches in Ireland back in 2021. No, 2001.
2001, yeah.
2001. I'm thinking 2021. That's only a couple of years ago. Mary Curran, thank you so much indeed for taking the time to speak to Confident Women Ireland today and share your nuggets of wisdom, knowledge, and experience with us in leadership.
Thank you so much, Roisin. Thank you.
You're more than welcome. My absolute pleasure.